What is up, denizens? I just got out of seeing Sonic 3 yesterday, and I've got to say, it was an incredibly good movie. This is going to be my official review for that movie, and I know I'm doing it pretty late, but I didn't get to go to the theaters until quite recently, because I only just now got a Regal Unlimited plan, because no way in hell am I paying for movie tickets at the price that they're at. No way, Jose. The movie itself was excellent. It's one of the best movies in the trilogy and might be the best movie in the trilogy. Jim Carrey does everything Jim Carrey does, but better and twice as frequently, as it shows both him and his grandfather doing Jim Carrey things. But it also allows for Jim Carrey to show some emotional depth that he rarely ever shows, with the exception of a couple movies such as the end scenes of Liar Liar and Yes Man. This movie shows Jim Carrey's range as the best of both worlds, as he shows off not only what he can do in the Sonic and Grinch movies, but he shows off what he can do in things like The Truman Show, combining his comedic and his dramatic acting for an excellent bit of character work as Eggman and the older Eggman. The humans are just as they've always been. They're kind of cringe, and it's very clear that it must have been the most awkward thing in the world to record those scenes, because you've got these people kneeling really close to the camera and talking really soft as if they're talking to a disabled child. And while that's an apt description of Sonic, he isn't actually present in the scenes, and I don't know if they included anything whatsoever to bypass that little bit of awkwardness. There are a few times with the dialogue from the humans where I remind myself, it's a kid's movie, it's okay to be a little cringe, which isn't the kind of thing you want to be saying to yourself when you're watching a kid's movie. It's not something I usually say when watching the best kids movies, but this movie was really good regardless, and it was only a couple of scenes that really worked to build character work, and I understand why it's there, I understand why it's cringe. It's because it's talking at the level a kid would understand, but to me it doesn't feel like it's talking down to them, instead it talks like at their level, but it's still a bit softer and more cringe than I would appreciate as an adult. But at the same time, I understand the movie is not made for me, I'm not its target demographic, and that is fine. The characters are all solid, they're all consistent, there's nothing in here that violates anything that was given to us beforehand, though Tom and Maddie has a significantly more muted character arc in this one because they've already basically had their arc. I can't really see anything else that they'd be worth doing unless they actually had an actual kid in, say, the next movie, as they tease as coming up in the end credits scene. The hedgehogs and other woodland creatures are all very accurate to how they should be. You have Sonic being Sonic, Tails being Tails, Knuckles being Knuckles, and all of their actors knock it out of the parks. Even, unfortunately, Ben Schwartz, who I despise as an actor, but he does a very good job as Sonic, and one of the best parts is you can't see him, so that makes it more enjoyable. Keanu Reeves as Shadow might be the best performance I've ever seen him do, because while I love Keanu as much as the next man, he's not exactly the greatest actor. He's very muted and very understated with how he acts, and it comes more off as him being unskilled than that just being his style. And while we do lose the eye candy of Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves, that's fine because they really do a great job as their performance roles in these movies. Stone is kind of a redundant character as he does everything he does in the other two movies, aka simping for Eggman and being sad when Eggman finds something more important than Stone. And it's a whole bunch of tried and repeated stuff, and you'd expect him to, I don't know, break Eggman's rules or do something that would hurt Eggman eventually as revenge or something, but he never even gets to that point. He never bothers to do that. Now, the synopsis of Sonic 3 is quite simple. Sonic is having his Be-Earth Day, basically the anniversary of when he came to Earth. All while in the middle of Tokyo is being destroyed by some black hedgehog, which we watched break out of a government facility, which is run by Gun. Team Sonic is sent to Tokyo to fight Shadow. Shadow beats them all very quickly after they make some quips, and he calls them a colorful bunch, which is a very appreciative slur. Afterwards, they end up in this cutesy restaurant where they get the exposition dump from Old Man Gun Commander, whatever the hell his name was, and then he promptly dies. After Eggman technology attacks them and Stone comes in to save them. This is all happening in the first 20 minutes of the film. And then after that, the second charge commander over at Gun thinks that Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails killed the old guy to steal a magic keycard that will unlock a doomsday weapon that Old Man Robotnik built. The rest of the movie is Team Sonic trying to find and defeat Shadow, who outclasses them in every single way, all while the two Eggmen try to destroy the world, and Team Sonic try and find a way to handle it, and Shadow juggles the grief of what happened to his dear friend Maria, who is something that happens in every single one of the Shadow introductions. For those who do not know anything about Sonic lore, Maria is a little girl, the granddaughter of the original Dr. Robotnik, and for some reason in every single iteration, a Gun security guard shoots her. Kills her, shoots her in the back, she dies. They did change that a little bit in this movie, but nothing too drastic, and it's very clear that's exactly what happened, but admittedly, I don't like the change. They changed exactly what happened to Maria, and I'm not a huge fan of the change because it makes it more accidental than intentional, and therefore less funny, even though I was seeing all those pictures saying, please do not cheer when the 9-year-old girl dies, which is I was going to cheer, but it would not be appropriate because my theater was quite unfilled. The movie was relatively funny, lots of hilarious scenes going on, with one of the funniest jokes being something about women in the military. I went with 2 friends, and we cackled out loudly, and we were the only ones who found that joke funny. The movie really prioritizes and praises the family structure. It is something that is very deep to it. It shows both a positive family and a negative family, that being Sonic's family versus the Eggman family, where it's very clear that Eggman doesn't give 2 shits about the other Eggman. And then the movie ends with both villains getting a bit of redemption arc as they show that there's something truly to behold, and Eggman realizes the value of stone. It's a wonderful movie, it is excellently done, and I recommend you go and see it. The plot is very simplistic, yes, but it is a very fun movie, and let's get right into the action, which is probably the most impressive part. Despite the fact that most of the fights were nothing but a CGI mess or Jim Carrey punching himself, these fights come off as incredibly intricate and incredibly well done. The way that they animate the movement of Shadow is something to truly be behold. And Eggman's fights are, to put it simply, slapstick comedy. When I put the slap in there, literally. And at an impressive budget of $122 million, meaning that this movie has almost no chance of not making its money back, unless it just turns out to be bad. But the movie is, of course, not bad, as it has already broken even. This movie is by far one of the standouts of this year. It's quite a shame that they came out at the very end of it. But it's also a great way to kick off 2025 with a brand new, very good movie, and something that's going to be going to international theaters very soon. Some of the other great parts about Sonic are how they go heavily into some of the memes. There were parts of the movie that I laughed out loud at because I was the only one who got them, because I'm the only one who's familiar with any kind of Sonic lore or the memes. For instance, Eggman did, in fact, piss on the moon. And then, of course, because this is a franchise, they had to really spice things up, and they gave us a little bit of an end trailer scene to this movie, showing us a little teaser to one of the other hedgehogs from the Sonic universe, one that I'm very excited for. This is basically the end of the video if you have no interest in getting spoiled, but if you do, feel free to keep along. And then the person they spoil is Amy, as she smashes a bunch of these Sonic androids. Something that I was unexpected. I don't know much about the lore around these Sonic androids, but I was very shocked to see them in the movie. And Amy looks great. She looks exactly how her character model should look. She's got the comically large hammer, and the only thing I'm worried about is they're going to butcher her storyline because someone might see it as being too sexist or whatever, as they did with the most recent adaptation of that one Sonic game that came out, where they replaced all of Amy's admiration towards Sonic with apathy. So if they keep Amy as being utterly obsessed with Sonic, then it's going to be fantastic, but if they try to deviate from that, I feel like they're going to ruin the magic that made this movie so great. But while I haven't seen the first 2 Sonic movies since they came out, and I should probably remedy that because they're all really good movies, I do think this one might be the best movie in the trilogy so far. It was incredibly well done, the characters are all very well defined and well handled, and I think it is, all in all, a very strong movie. And it really does put the MCU to shame with how well they handle their CGI compared to, well, how Marvel does it, or DC, or how any other multi-million-dollar franchise has been going about using CGI today. But that's pretty much all I've got. Let me know in the comments if you guys saw this movie and what you guys think about it, and I will see you guys on the next one.